reusing the same code base. Anyway, hey, shit, we're live. Episode 115, This Life in Tech. I'm Jason.
Always on fire.
Always.
Dan.
Too bad that Ken's a wimp and he can't get up early.
Well, he would if he was out playing golf.
That's true. Yeah, see? Priorities, man. I bet his ass is up golfing.
Who knows? He says, like, basically, he goes golfing every chance he gets, especially on the weekends. Well, and I think the other the reason why is because he said no matter what happens, he's having chicken when he gets home. And no matter what. He doesn't know what he's having for dinner, but he knows it's chicken.
At least I got chicken.
Yeah.
Oh, man. What a crazy week in tech, dude.
I mean, what week isn't, right? But I did watch the highlights from the UFC fight last night.
I mean, I don't know what highlights there really were, to be honest with you.
Pettis' Superman punch against Wonder Boy.
Yeah, I mean,
cold.
I didn't catch what round that was in.
Second.
Oh, okay.
I just literally watched the highlight.
Yeah. Well, I did too. I just didn't know what round it was.
I don't know if anyone else fought.
Nobody. I did not recognize a single name other than those two. That's it.
Yeah. I think, with the UFC, things are starting to get crazier and crazier.
Well, they're definitely getting crazier, man. And it definitely feels to me like it's diluted. Like, here's the craziest thing. Talking about tech. Maybe this is a good segue. Did I understand this correctly that all future pay-per-views will only be available through ESPN Plus?
I didn't see.
Yeah. And so that means you have to have an ESPN Plus subscription to get access to buy the pay-per-view, unless you're going to go to like a Buffalo Wild Wings or something.
I'll do that. I'm not supporting that Mickey Mouse bullshit.
Listen, man.
Get it? Because Disney owns ESPN.
Yeah. I get it, man. I get it. Disney owns Fox now too, but
yeah. Well, no, Fox sold off a bunch of stuff. I don't know if they own like Fox News.
Well, not Fox News, but all the movie properties.
Yeah.
I don't know about TV, but anyway, what were we saying? Oh, UFC through ESPN, dude. And it's not because I don't like sports. I mean, there's certain sports I like and I watch or follow regularly. Cycling is an example.
That's a nice hobby.
Hey, man.
It's not a sport.
I will put any professional cyclist up against any athlete from any other sport. And cyclists are, without an exception, at least one order of magnitude. I don't know if you want to say tougher, harder, whatever.
Not discounting that. There's just a difference between a sport and cycling.
Oh, boy.
We've talked about this. I can't bet on it in Vegas.
You can. That's what I was just going to say. That's one of the most defining features of what makes something a sport is that you can bet on it in Vegas.
When we looked before, I didn't find where I could bet when we looked online because we had this debate once before. All right, one of the categories you got to be able to bet on it in Vegas, right? Because there's so many things that you just can't bet on.
Oh, God damn it, man!
Because I think we went. Now, of course, I'm sure there's going to be some books that will allow you, but I think we went to Caesars last time.
I don't remember, man. But right here, I'm looking at it: Las Vegas sports betting, and they already have.
I mean, because technically, you do have offense and defense in cycling, which people don't necessarily recognize.
There's a tremendous amount of those types of things in it, but I'm looking at it right here, man, and the betting lines for the upcoming Tour de France, which is in July, are available.
Any place, or is it on Caesars?
I'm looking at a portal to all the Las Vegas.
Yeah, because you might have some run-of-the-mill bookie that's willing to take,
run-of-the-mill.
Yeah, that might even be willing for you to bet on like the WWE. That doesn't count.
Oh. Anyway, man. Anyway, so how did we get to betting?
Well, I have no idea. But
we can take bets on how much longer Facebook's going to be around. Apparently,
I think it's going to be around for a long time.
I do too. I don't think anybody gives a shit.
When they do, it's a small amount. I mean, they're still making tons of money. Why would it matter?
Well, so I tweeted out independently. We came to the idea that we wanted to talk about this today, so that works out for me. I tweeted out this link this morning. A study came out. No, actually, so I'm thinking about the wrong thing. A news article came out in Forbes, and this journalist was suggesting that Facebook has trained culture, non-specific, let's just say society, to not care about privacy and not care about security. I think that's lazy hack writing. I think Facebook is a reflection of culture. I don't think we care, and I don't think we should care. For the record.
Well, I know you think we should care. What's interesting is because I've been saying this constantly, that Alex Stamos, everywhere he goes, after he leaves, you find about all these security things that were basic things that didn't get done, like Facebook storing passwords in the clear for years, not like a point in time, years.
Mm-hmm.
Breaches, and I think now he's teaching at Stanford or something like that. I mean, I think the guy has a huge disconnect from the reality of business and how to implement security, in my opinion. I could be completely wrong, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But whenever you say that all corporations need to switch everything to a Chromebook, it's not practical. You have to provide the best security you can based on the threat profile of the organization, whatever it is they choose. If they say they have a low tolerance for risk, then your cybersecurity needs to be beefed up quite higher. If they have a high tolerance for risk, and this is what the board has authorized, then you don't spend as much money because they're willing to take and be more risky.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, I can't, having worked in all these different roles at one point or another in my career, I can't imagine a scenario in which I would ever have, let's just say, loosely speaking, a function that ingests authentication and outputs it in clear text. Like, I can't imagine a scenario in which that is even a valid test. Because let's remember, Facebook isn't the first, and they're probably not going to be the last in very recent history of these large social media platforms in Silicon Valley collecting and storing authentication objects in clear text. And I can't fathom. Forget the cybersecurity aspect of it for a second, right? Let's just talk about the design of it. Let's say the systems analysis or the systems engineering of it. What purpose would you ever have to have that function operate in that manner? I can't imagine it.
Oh, I know. It's very simple, though. I'll tell you. It's because of a government conspiracy. They paid Facebook to do this. They have all these people's passwords, so they can go in and check on all your stuff anytime they want.
Well, I'll say this. you say that, and it is a bit funny, but sometimes sometimes the simplest answer is the most correct. If you can't imagine how it would be done, let's say by accident, because in a normal scenario, you would say, okay, we're going to write this function, we're going to ingest data, and we need that string, let's say, in the clear so that we can make sure that our function's operating correctly. Okay, so you test that out like as a unit test, so on your machine, not even in a dev environment. And then you push it to the dev environment, and you would suspect at that point that you're actually hashing it, if that's what you're doing. Not encrypting, hashing. And so then you can tell, okay, that A comes in and I get some hashed output of A, whatever that is. Okay, so now it's operating correctly. Let me push that to production. That's a normal chain of events. So then let's stipulate that by accident or some unintentional result is that you get this clear text function, right? If that's not what's happening, because I can't imagine how it could, then the only thing you're left with is, through Occam's razor, the simplest answer, which is it's intentional.
It is intentional. Or, well, if it's not intentional, then it's because they're stupid. And I don't think they're stupid.
No. And if it was just one company one time, everybody makes mistakes, man. Somebody screwed up. Sure, okay. But this ain't the first one. It ain't going to be the last. And how long? And like you said, add on to it that this has been going on apparently for years.
This is one of the first things you check, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure in the NIST Special Publication 800 series, the first thing it says is check your password. How's it being stored? I mean, if it's not one of those, it's because access control is the first thing, mainly because it's the first part in the alphabet. But the AC series, it's all about access control. Access control comes back down to authentication and passwords and the storing of said passwords. Mm-hmm. And nowhere, I mean, this is a rookie mistake. Again, it's a rookie mistake. Facebook has never cared about. I take that back. Facebook is secure. It's not private. And there's a big difference.
Sure.
Now, while these passwords has been found that they do this, I don't know any third party has gained access to these passwords. Don't know. But security is relative. I mean, I've said this many times. Security depreciates faster than taking a new car off the car lot. So, you're secure today. Tomorrow, I mean, it just degrades. One day, CrowdStrike's got the best product on the market. 3 years from now, McAfee's back on top again, or it's Symantec, or it's some company that we haven't even heard of.
It ain't gonna be Kaspersky.
It's definitely not going to be Kaspersky. I've been telling people that for years what this cat's been doing, and now he's suing everyone.
I got one for you. Not to interrupt your flow, but check this out, man. It just made me think of this. So apparently, there's an initiative to switch from Adobe Connect to Zoom for teaching. It's not even an initiative. Like, it's going to happen. Whatever, dude. Whatever. Okay. I wasn't involved. I'm not going to be there for it. Whatever. Guess what? Zoom doesn't work with Kaspersky, and for some reason now Kaspersky's deployed everywhere.
Inside a cap?
Yes. And so
they understand that, like, the government has said you can't use it.
I do. All things being equal, if the circumstances were different, I would have spoke up and said, why are you worried about Zoom not working? I'd be more worried about the Russian spyware you just installed everywhere. But
I know.
I didn't say a word, dude. I just let it go. I thought I'd save it for this.
That's funny. Me. That's hilarious. Because Kaspersky is suing Apple in Russia. And I think I put this on Twitter. If I were Apple, I would join in the lawsuit with the United States against Kaspersky. I'd be like, I mean, come on. For the most part, Russia is not a very wealthy country by living standards. And as far as I can tell, most people over there are using Android. But you couldn't pay me to put that spyware on my phone.
Here's a question for you. Since we're already derailed, let's revisit something we've been talking about. Would you rather own a computer that has Kaspersky installed that you can't remove, or would you rather buy a Huawei phone that you have to use for your whole life?
I need a third, because there's got to be the whole what is it? Marry, have sex, kill.
Yeah.
So you got to give me a third.
Go live in a shed in the woods.
Oh, I'll go live in a shed in the woods in a minute. Because the other two I know is there's nothing you can do with a Huawei phone, right? The data's going back to China.
Speaking of which, did you see that thing I tweeted out yesterday where now they found Nokia devices phoning home to the mothership?
Of course, I replied to it.
Yeah, that's right. You did.
Software applications is what did it. No,
yeah.
it's that no one checked the stuff coming off the line. There was not someone there, and they embedded that stuff into the hardware, into the firmware. That's what it is. Flash those devices.
Oh my God.
Move on. I mean, come on. It's of course it happens. People they don't pay attention. Who's flashing the devices? I mean, it's more than just manufacturing. That's what people forget. It's not just that they're manufacturing it and assembling it and all that kind of jazz. They're flashing the devices with the operating system, firmware, everything.
Right.
Well, how else do you think this happens?
Yeah. I mean, who knows what's in that bootloader, right? Who knows? I know I don't, because I've never looked.
Well, that's why, I always put things on there like now secure. They're going to tell me every connection that's going on. Yeah. And, I've known those cats for a long time, and they basically grew up in the mobile forensic space and then moved from services to product. So they're based out of Chicago, in case anyone wants to look them up.
Anyway, man, back to Facebook. No, I don't think it's a government conspiracy. That's the funny part of what you said. But I do think it's intentional, as in it's intended to be that way. I don't know why. I don't know that it necessarily needs an explanation as to why. But I do think it's absolutely 100% premeditated, intentional.
I think it is part of the government, because Facebook got really popular under President Obama, and he absolutely wanted to continue to remove our constitutional rights. So why isn't Mueller, probing that? Said it here first. It's going to be a President Obama conspiracy. Hillary Clinton was in on it as Secretary of State. She was trying to make sure that she had all the passwords to all the diplomats around the world that had Facebook. There you go. It's going to come out.
When we vote, why isn't there an option on every ticket of just no confidence? I just thought of that. There should be, right? I mean, there should be, instead of just this or that in terms of people for position, there should be like a neutral option that is no confidence in any of these people.
Well, this is a thing like which this law will never pass ever. Even though I think Ted Cruz is trying to sponsor one. Limits on Congress, term limits. There absolutely should be term limits. How does someone, and it does not matter for the most part, someone that is been in Congress for 20 years, there's no way they have touch with the reality of their constituents. I just cannot. There might be an exception, unlikely. Now, I would have no problem even with a scenario where you do 3 terms and then you have to sit out a term and then come back, because at least then you had to go do something and maybe come back to reality, which you can't do with the president. Once you hit your 2 terms, you're done. So I wouldn't have a problem with something like that. But I mean, and even still, if someone's 80 years old, I mean, come on, how is Bernie Sanders in touch with reality today? I just don't see it.
I can't. Well, right. I mean, certainly none of these people are in touch with the broader cultural reality.
Now, and even though I think AOC is a whack job, I mean, I can understand why she would feel the way that she does. She grew up in a time where we had everything except healthcare. So in her mind, everything we do has got to be about providing more welfare programs, because that's the only thing that we were missing in the United States. Otherwise, we have flourished as an entire nation from the prosperity of the internet and everything that has been attached thereof in terms of the technology revolution. So I can understand why AOC would be the way she is, even though I completely disagree. But 29 years old and you're a millennial, this is not a shocker to me. Bernie Sanders thinking that way, well, his is even worse. I mean, he really wants this to be like communism, I think.
I don't even know what to say, man. I don't like any of these people.
No, me either.
I should restate that. I think these people are poor politicians. I don't know them personally, so it's not that I don't like them. I think they absolutely suck as leaders and government officials. That's what I mean to say.
I would vote for Condoleezza Rice. I don't think she's going to leave her post because she's either, I think she's like the head of the NCAA right now, or
I don't know.
I got to look that up.
I don't know. Well, look, man, I mean, imagine a situation in which how many people are legal voting age in the U.S.? It's probably an easy thing to look up. Let's call it 100 million, which I'm sure it's way more than that out of 350 million. 100 million. Dude, how fast can we rotate through citizens? Mandatory service.
Oh yeah.
Right? When your number comes up, you go serve. And your job is saved for you, right? You get a small stipend. It's all paid for. There's no, and think about this. Think about how much human capital is saved just by abolishing and getting rid of all this bullshit campaigning. Gone. You just don't need it anymore. It's evaporated.
Yeah.
Because it's compulsory. Or I guess you could choose to not be a citizen, and then okay, that's fine. You just don't get certain rights. This is the big thing that's starting to bother me, though, man. And you can already see it starting, even in what you said with AOC and Bernie. Not that I care for him, not that I would ever vote for him, but because of what Trump is as a brand, let's say, right? It's going to swing to the polar opposite, and as far and as fast as it can, and that is not good for anybody.
No, it's definitely not. As any time you get to the extremes, you will see that things are going to be worse, no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very similar. We were talking about last Tuesday. There's no difference between 0% trust and 100% trust in my eyes, because I know exactly where you stand with me and how I can use that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's happening in today, where things are becoming ultra politicized, from guns to healthcare to immigration. There's even states that are starting to say things are not constitutional to ask for ID in order to vote. I think that you absolutely should provide identification. People saying, "Oh, that's discrimination." How? Well, people who can't afford it can't, do this. Well, then if they can't afford it, then how are they getting government benefits? Because you have to show your identification then, or make identification free. I don't really care, but things are becoming so ultra politicized, and in reality, only half the country is voting.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what's crazy about it, right? But the whole concept of politics is corrupted now. And I don't mean the people themselves. That's an easy thing to pick on and dogpile on. That's not what I mean. I mean the actual concept of what politicking means and what it should be used for to better our society is corrupt. I mean, listen, man, you probably lean a little more on the conservative side of libertarianism, and I probably lean a little more on the liberal side. But we meet in the middle a lot.
Oh, yeah.
To me, that's where there's progress being made, right? And you get these polar shifts, and it's going to escalate because that's human nature, right? It's going to continue to ratchet up, and it's going to get crazier and crazier and crazier. And in the meantime, less is getting done. Things are falling apart more rapidly because, right, it's exponential at that point. And where are we at? I mean, for what purpose? And it even starts to me with our language. Like, one of the things increasingly I've grown tired of is people referring to other people by these cute little pet names: libtards, conservatards, snowflakes, whatever, right? It's this impotent attempt to trying to belong to a club. And this is what bothers me about politics today, is if you don't belong to one or the other, what are you? It reminds me of this. I think I've told this joke before, but to you, I know I have. On the show, I'll tell it. When I was in Ireland a number of years ago, I was talking to a guy, and not the dude that was there to kill somebody else. And I was asking him about the troubles in the North, and he explained it to me this way. He said, these guys were driving through a neighborhood one night in Belfast, and they saw this kid walking that they didn't recognize. So they jumped out and grabbed him and said, "Are you a Protestant or a Catholic?" And the kid said, "I'm Jewish." And they said, "Okay, but are you a Jew Protestant or a Jew Catholic?" Their worldview was so defined by the divide between those two options that they didn't even understand what being Jewish was at that point, right? And it's a joke, but it's illustrative of the point. Exactly what you're saying. It's so polarized, and everything's being defined by those political tribes that, well, no wonder nobody gives a shit about Facebook. Because Facebook now is just a platform to virtue signal which tribe you belong to.
Well, right. And I don't think they're really losing I mean, they're not losing any money. They may be losing some people who are signed up. They're not losing money. I don't, at least not enough. They'll be right back to where they were before.
Right.
I don't believe people truly understand the aspects of what's really going on behind the scenes, and why should they? It's not something for them too. Like, I know enough about the law that says I need to go get a lawyer.
You're right. Right.
And I've studied quite a bit of the law. It is something that I enjoy, but I'm not a lawyer. You know, this is the number one reason why people should seek out an attorney, because we're emotional about whatever's going on, and the attorney is not. It's a job.
Right.
I don't want to know about construction, so I go hire people who know how to do those things. Carpenters, you know, you name it. I don't want to do it. Do I know enough about it? Sure. I know even more. I need to go get that professional.
Yeah.
And that, you know, this whole notion of what's going on right now, or the CISO needs to report to the CEO and the board. No, I disagree. The fact that we need a cybersecurity executive on the board, disagree. It doesn't have to be. You need someone it's risk. You need someone on the board that understands risk, that can help the board articulate the risk profile that they need to be in, and does the company subscribe to what the board has put forth in their risk profile. Pure and simple. That's it. We're overly complicating, and we're making it to the extreme of cyber. If you put so much money into cybersecurity in any organization, then they're not going to be able to do business.
Right.
They won't be able to.
And I think you hit the nail on the head, man. And I think you see that reflected because it's cultural for us, at least in the States. You see it reflected in our government. It's overcomplicated. It's way overcomplicated. Look, I agree that we ought to be thinking about our lasting impact on the climate and the planet. I don't disagree that that's a worthy conversation to have. But I don't need the federal government to tell me that that's a good conversation to have. It makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, or we're otherwise not incentivized to do what might be the right thing, then that's the problem. Not that the government doesn't have a rule telling me that I need to talk about it.
Well, and I think that's the part where people don't have to, probably don't understand this either. Because this is the whole big, I love always having this aspect of ethics versus morals.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Because like I said on the thing, then I subscribe to hedonism, because it's all about me. It's whatever makes me feel good then, right? That's what people don't understand. That's an ethical discipline. Has nothing to do necessarily with morals as to whether or not you should or not. It's about where things are going to benefit. And companies, they only care about shareholder value. So that means they don't care about the environment. So the government has to inflict corporations to make sure they're not doing things like dumping stuff into the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's why those exist. As people, we should understand what's going on, because we have a different thing. We get paid maybe by some company, because we also have to, there are plenty of people that have had to do jobs that they don't want to do in order to put food on the table for their family. And that's because they have to take care of their individual group. The government has certainly overreaching in many areas and hasn't done enough in others. I mean, and it's probably in many ways they've taken too long and are not enforcing many of the things that they should be from an environment perspective. Or maybe that's why the companies have gone to Mexico and China.
Well, I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head, and maybe this is a good point to start wrapping up on. They're too slow. And why is federal, I'm speaking specifically about federal government, so slow? Because how do you represent 350 million people when it's in your incentive to not do it? Right? They're not being paid to like pass laws, right? Bernie Sanders doesn't get paid a bonus if he passes X number of laws, right? Not that he does it himself, but you get where I'm going with that, right?
Yeah.
They're incentivized to stay in that seat as long as humanly possible.
Right. And who's the one that's able to give them more money? Us as individuals or as companies? And they can say whatever they want that there's a limitation for how much corporations can donate. Yeah, you know what? I know there's a law for that. There's also a law that says people shouldn't kill other people. I don't know why we needed a law for that. There's plenty of laws that are out there, and there's plenty of people that are finding ways around said laws in order to get a certain amount of donations. I mean, that cat in Beto O'Rourke spent more money in any, basically in any Senate election and lost. Where did he get all that money from?
Not Cult of the Dead Cow.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. And I mean, dude, don't get me started. That guy is an idiot. At least from a political person. I mean, he asked. It was so. I saw this clip yesterday that he was trying to explain as to how we're going to pull troops out of the Middle East, and a vet said, "All right, well, what's your plan?" Well, we're just going to pull them out. Okay, well, what's your plan? He didn't have a plan. I mean, I would have respected the guy if he said, "Look, I don't know yet what my plan is. I'm not that far enough down the road. I just don't want to involve our troops in the foreign. My foreign policy is going to be to limit our involvement in other countries, and that's it. I want to figure out how we can, and I don't know the answer yet, but I want to get our troops out." Bam! That's all you have to say. Stop trying to act like a politician. Like, I don't know the plan yet, but I don't want us to be in the Middle East. We're not wanted there. We don't need to be there, and I want to get out. Fine. That's all you have to say.
Well, right, because the role of a leader isn't to necessarily come up with a plan. You got to start with a vision or a mission statement, let's say, right?
Yeah.
So I got a question for you, man. Have you been following Andrew Yang at all?
No.
All right, check this dude out, man. Maybe we'll talk about this on
Andrew Yang.
Yeah.
All right, what's he about? Give me a lowdown. Andrew Yang, writing this stuff down. I'm writing it down on my trusty Michigan Ross. Go Blue. It's all about that. Not like, wherever Ken's at today.
Yeah, I don't know what he's up to, man. I don't know that much about him, but he's started to pop up on my radar a little bit. I think he's a good possible candidate. I don't know if he's running as libertarian or independent, but he definitely is libertarian by philosophy. But I think he got into some debates based on the percentage of support he has. That's why I think it's interesting, because it might help break up this little binary system that's locked into.
I still wish Condoleezza Rice would run for president. I would vote for her in a minute.
You would?
Yeah, I like her. I like her demeanor. I like how she handles things. I don't think she has any desire to get back into politics after being Secretary of State. Mm-hmm. Or Colin Powell, but he might be a little bit too old now. But I would still vote for him. I can't think of too many other Republicans that I would vote for at this point.
Well, I mean, right. Who else is there?
I don't know. But I do. I think it's awfully funny now that the Democrats are going, well, we don't believe Mueller's report.
I don't know. I've purposely stayed out of it. I don't.
Oh, it's hilarious because now they want to bring Robert Mueller into on the stand and ask him to explain his report. I'd be like, oh, huh?
Who said that?
Oh, it was in the news. I don't remember which one, but they're trying to get him to come in there to basically, how could you come to these conclusions? Well, read my report. I mean, that's literally what I would, if I was Mueller, every single time they asked me a question, I'd be like, read the report.
Because, well, it just got, he just submitted it on Friday, right?
Yeah, and it came to be no further indictments. Done.
Well, fair enough. I'm not worried about the indictments. What I would question is how has anybody actually read it that fast? I mean, dude, it's only Sunday morning. Like, I can't imagine it's a small, short document. You know what I mean?
It's probably not. I mean, they've probably had it for a little while. They just only publicly let it be known, if I had to guess. But it's just it's hilarious that when the report comes out, the people who wanted there to be action don't want to believe what's in the report.
I don't know. So, I don't believe any of them, nor do I especially believe any of the reporting about them.
Oh yeah, it's just they were hoping that everyone in the Trump family would be indicted, including President Trump.
Yeah, because impeaching a president is always a great thing for the country. Not that I think he shouldn't be. I mean, I'm not judging it. I'm just,
if
people really don't think through what they're talking about. You know what I mean?
It's 2019. We're gonna have an election in 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like President Trump, you vote him out.
Well, and look, like I said, I'm not suggesting that he shouldn't be impeached. I don't know that he's done anything that's impeachable. I think some things are questionable. I don't care for him. I think he's a horrible fucking human being. And I think he's an even worse president. But we have the mechanisms to deal with it. So deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, again, 18 months, there's an election, folks. But I want to say right now, I don't believe, again, enough people will turn out to vote him out.
I don't think there's any way any Republican wins.
I don't know. I didn't think President Trump was going to win, but as Nostradamus, I predicted Trump winning, and he did.
Yeah, well,
the future is not yet clear to me as to who will be the next president, but I'm sure it will come to me.
Well, look, why did Trump win? How much more opposite than Obama could you get?
It's true.
Really, John McCain wasn't the opposite of Obama. You know what I mean?
So I really do wish, even I was not a fan of John McCain, I do strongly believe that when the person has passed away, you need to strike him from your vocabulary. And President Trump cannot stop but trying to bash John McCain. Well, the man's dead. Let him rest in peace.
This isn't a commentary on him as a president. It's a commentary on him as a person. He's just a horrible piece of shit.
It's true.
Really. He really is. I mean, it's been demonstrated time and time again long before he was involved in this. But anyway, if you want to know who's most likely to win, who's the most opposite of Trump, I really think that we're done for the foreseeable future, maybe our lifetime, with any president ever getting 2 terms again. I don't think we'll see it for a long time.
I don't know. I think slightly different than yours. I don't think you need someone that's opposite Trump. I think you need someone that's going to be in the middle if you're going to win. Because the only way now, either president, if we're going to have a true good president next, it's going to have to bridge this gap. I mean, we can say what we will about President Obama. I don't think he did a horrible job. I think in the climate in which he was coming in, coming out of President Bush, who I don't think did a bad job either, but the internet just exploded under President Obama, and that is difficult because everything at that point during his term was under the microscope. I don't know that I think he did a decent job for the country. I'm not a fan of Obamacare. I do believe that healthcare should have been done a little bit differently, and I think it should have been offered, but more from a state perspective. But I think in someone going to win, it's going to have to be someone that will bridge the gap in our society in terms of how they're going to speak. And
that's what I would want. I don't think that's what's going to happen. That's why what I would say is I'd actually be very interested in a meaningful conversation socially about just abolishing the presidentship altogether. Just get rid of it. I really at this point don't understand what purpose it serves anyway. Our country's way too large.
Well, in reality, I agree with you. It should, but we have as states, we have given that right up. That's what has to happen. I mean, the federal government was supposed to bridge the gap between the states, and in the event that we need to make a decision based on the whole country, such as war, such as foreign policy, that's where the president comes in.
Mm-hmm.
It has gone much further than that because we have given too much power back to Congress rather than what it was supposed to be about the states. You know, you don't like my state, then you move.
Right. And we're not 13 colonies anymore with what, maybe less than 1 million people? I mean, we have more than we have that many cities with that many people.
Yeah. Easily. So, this is where I think getting back to states' rights, I mean, I would go so far as to say that, these people in Congress, should be back in their state. They don't need to live in DC. The technology exists. I promise you it exists. It's existed for years.
Yeah.
We're using something right now.
Right. I was just going to say that too. Yeah. I mean, really. Well, and yeah, maybe we should have a full episode about this, because why do you even need a federal senator? Why can't I have a state senator from each state, right? That under the circumstances in which I would need a federal government to act, convene in that role just for that limited duration of time. And that's it.
Yeah. So it's funny that the amount of people that believe that they're going to push through a constitutional amendment to get direct voting.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's abolish the Electoral College.
Yeah, I guarantee, no constitutional amendment to abolish the Electoral College exists in my lifetime.
I agree with you. Well, and again, it's an oversimplification of what is a very complex system. I don't think, personally, and I'm not an expert, but I don't think the Electoral College in and of itself is the problem. It addresses a problem. The problem is our country and our society's moved forward, and the federal government's too big, so it's too slow to keep pace with it.
I'm trying to think. What? I don't see another country that's even as big, that's anywhere close to the population that we are, that exists. I mean, you can't count China or India for that matter, because look at the amount of poverty and complexity that exists in their infrastructure. It doesn't. There's just a lot of people. The amount of things that are going on there, I don't think any country has any amount of diversity that we have. I mean, over there, the amount of diversity in terms of culture in China, India is not very much. We have every culture in the entire world for the most part here in the United States,
including those.
Yeah, including
yeah. Well, that's the thing, man. It's just so big, man. It's so big and it's so diverse. It's geographically diverse. It's super advanced. I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's difficult.
It's a complex situation, and these little simple sound bites aren't going to do anything. And it really disheartens me that people wholesale buy into it from anybody, left, right, middle, anything.
I really believe it comes back down to this. And I hate in some ways having to give Eric Cole any credit, because I think he overdoes many things, but he actually said something that I agree with on LinkedIn the other day. Why are we praising our kids in school for what things they answered right on tests and things of that nature, rather than asking them, what questions did you ask today?
You're right.
And I went, he's absolutely, in this case, I have to give credit where credit is due. I don't agree with any of his cybersecurity predictions and many of the things he says about cybersecurity. But that's his life, and that's why he has to do that, and that's where he makes his money. I get it. But that's actually true. I don't believe we are teaching the generations that are coming after us how to think. And that's the situation we're in.
We have a real problem in that I don't know that we know how to think anymore. And it's not because we're lazy or dumb. In fact, I mean, IQ has steadily been rising over time. As a species, we're infinitely smarter. Yeah. Here's the problem, is the way we think is limited by our body. And we have no way to compete with the rapidity of information flowing around because of, for instance, Facebook and Twitter. There's no way to handle that. We haven't figured it out yet. And so how do you teach your 4-year-old, because we both have one, how to deal with that? Dude, I don't know how to think. Like, for months now, I've been thinking about how to curate just Twitter so that I can actually use it. You know what I mean? I have no fucking idea.
But there's a difference there. You're asking the question and you're spending time pondering the means in which you're going to go about it.
Fair enough.
many people don't do that at all. I mean, this is why, Hitler had said, "Isn't it great for us leaders that men do not think?" Right? Sure. It's not just today. It's because if you think, then eventually you can get out of the situation, right? Hitler believed he could absolutely do this because men don't think, and he's going to rule the world because of that. And he almost did. He got greedy. I mean, if he had not gotten greedy, we would all be speaking and driving German. There wouldn't even be kissing French anymore. He would probably outlaw that. So your entire philosophy would be gone.
Well, half of it would be correct. What do you mean? I don't think it'd be gone. I think half of it would be correct.
Half of it would be correct. Right?
Therefore, I'm right always half the time.
Yes. So, but you may not even come up with this philosophy then. It may not have ever existed.
Well, it would just be normative.
Right.
Right.
Why would people say I had a crazy day at work? But if every day is crazy, isn't it then normal?
Yeah.
So
you're spot
on. We are thinking. We're not thinking to the way standard we believe it, but now compare that to others. I mean, I've asked the question many times, how much time do you spend thinking? Dude, I no lie, I easily just am setting aside probably pretty close to on average 4 hours of day every day to think.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. I wish in some cases I had more time than 4 hours, but a lot of times I'm having to act. And I don't mean thinking in the moment, like closing the door and thinking, writing down your thoughts, and then turning them into potential actions. How are you going to bob and weave through that? We've forgotten how to do that as a society. So I got to give props to Eric Cole for actually making that astute observation. Why aren't we praising our children for the questions they're asking rather than just the knowledge of whether something was A, B, C, or D? Because we can always look that up. But if you don't know what question to ask, does it matter?
Yeah.
So,
well, clearly in education, in modern society, we value results over the means.
Yeah.
Which I think is exactly what you're saying, and it's a big problem.
Yep. Anyway.
Right on. Well, that's 1:15.
I'm on fire.
On fire. It's a good way to end it, man.
All right, my friend. Tuesday, or is Ken gonna bail on us?
Dude, I'm showing up on Tuesday, and if you dickheads got something better to do, I'll do it by myself.
I don't think I'll check right now. I'm pretty sure I'm still good, although I much prefer Thursday.
I do too. We only got a few weeks left, man. We only got a few weeks left. In fact, 4 at this point, to be precise.
Yeah, Tuesday, I'm good to go.
All right, 10 a.m. it is. 1:16 on Tuesday, my friends.
Deuces.
Have a good Sunday.
Peace.
Bye.